Hi, Adshaw here from Adshaw Music. I wanted to make a video to highlight all the reasons why I'm such a massive Spitfire audio fanboy. Um, because when I'm writing music, I follow a theme. I have a template that I open up, and it's got the core sounds. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's got all the core sounds that I start with when I'm making something orchestral. And it's quite apparent that it's 95% Spitfire audio products. And I use a lot of them. And so what I wanted to do was kind of break it down into what are the libraries that I really love, what are the ones that I don't love so much, and what are the presets or the articulations or the instruments inside each library that I use all the time. So here we are with my very basic template, and what I've done just for the purposes of this video is I've removed anything that's not Spitfire audio, bar one little wildcard, which I'm going to come on to later. I don't just use Spitfire audio. I mean, I also use LA scoring strings and Berlin and East West. I've got some great orchestral sounds. Their libraries are a little bit old, but they have had a refresh recently, and some of their instruments have had quite a major update. They've also updated their library, their engine, to this new Opus engine, which it's not brilliant, but it's a lot better than it used to be. East West is also subscription based, so you get your hands on all of the lovely things for a little money a month rather than spending fortunes. But that's not for this video. This video is all about Spitfire audio. So when I start, I work off just making a piano melody, and the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is Originals felt piano from Spitfire audio. It is dirt cheap. It's like 29 quid. It's pennies. And for your £29, you get a piano that sounds like this. I'm just going to turn the hammers up because you're supposed to play it with the hammers, but you get something like this. It's this lovely, warm, soft, dreamy felt piano that everybody loves. Everybody's using felt pianos. It's who would have thought that sticking some tape over your hammers makes this incredible sound. I tend to not have the hammers on. They're a really cool thing. Let me just turn off my ribbon, and you can just hear the hammers now. Isn't that awesome? But I don't use them because I use it just as this is where I start scoring with Originals felt piano. It's great. Go and get it. Don't even think about it. Go and buy it. You'll love it. The next thing on my list, and this is my favorite library from Spitfire Audio, and it's BBC Symphony Orchestra. And again, I've sort of trimmed this down to my bare bones, what I tend to use the most. It's a massive library, and it's incredible. It's got the best, in my opinion, the best legatos of any library that I use from any manufacturer. Now, I don't have. There's three versions of BBC Symphony Orchestra. There is the base one, which is Discover. And it's quite cheap. I can't remember how much it is, but it's very cheap. And it gives you the very bare bones, a violin, a cello, and a few other things. And so if you're just starting to get into orchestral music, I would go and have a look at it because it's a really good starting block. And you get these incredible instruments recorded by the BBC Symphony Orchestra in Maida Vale studio, and they sound incredible. I've got the middle one, which is Core, and you get everything in Discover, but you also get all of the instruments, all of the articulations, and then you can go up one and spend mega bucks and get Professional, and that adds in, I think, 2 more instruments and lots of mic positions, and I think possibly some more articulations, but I'm not 100%. I've not had cause to get it because I'm really happy with what I've got at the moment. At some point, I will definitely upgrade. But his violins, I'm just going to sort of razz through these quite quickly, but just to give you an idea. And these are they're just the best legatos. These lovely portamenti slurs. I think they're portamenti. There might be a slur. I'm not particularly good in this kind of avenue, but listen to this. And the shorts are really good. I'm just sticking with legato here, but it's got all of the, so I can flip to spiccatos or... It's just a gorgeous sound. Love it, love it, love it. Get it, it's great. And I'm going to quickly jump through some of the others. I'm going to skip violins too. It's got obviously second violins. It's got a sort of warmer... which is really nice. The violas, I think, are fantastic as well. Here's the violas. And I particularly like the long consordinos on this. Aren't they lovely? Really nice, love it, use them a lot. And again, the celli, I just think, oh, gorgeous. It's not the only celli that I use. I'll come on to that shortly. Really nice, and again, the engine for symphony orchestra has just been so well programmed and well put together that you can pretty much do everything just using legato. If you want to jump to shorts, you can. If you want to jump to longs, you can. It intelligently knows what to do, which is really good. And I use the basses as well. I'll give you a really quick play of the bass. Aren't they nice? Lovely. What I really like about BBC Symphony Orchestra is its warmth. Nothing bursts out. It stays nice and bedded. It's got this lovely mellow sound, and you can hear it particularly well in symphony orchestra horns. So this is the 4 horns that I'm going to play here. And even when I'm right pushing it up at the top of the dynamic range, still got this lovely, juicy, smooth, warm sound to it. And then if I push it right up to its top, just listen, you've just got this edge of raspiness, but it's nice and controlled. And what I love as well is some of the articulations. So staccatissimo muted. I love this sound. Isn't that gorgeous? I use it all the time. It always makes an appearance in anything that I'm writing. Trumpets, I'm going to play them briefly. I think in another library that I'm going to show you, I think I've got them in my template. There's different trumpets that I use. Don't know why I was playing the Superman theme there, but it's what happened. I'm just playing other people's music, but get the idea. I really love the flutes as well from BBC Symphony Orchestra. Again, I'm just showing you a few of them. It's not everything, but it might inspire you to buy them or make you think, actually, they sound crap. Might be me who's making them sound crap, of course. The flutes are great. Just going to show you what I'm doing with the vibrato as well. So I've got my controller here. I think you can see it better on this view. I've got two controllers. So I use this one on my iPad. You can just about see that this controls vibrato and dynamics. But I've also got on my Launch Control XL here 3 faders that I use. So I've got CC1 here, which is my dynamic range or your mod wheel. This third fader along here I use for my vibrato, and then the second one here is my CC11, which is expression, which is basically volume control. Anyway, that's by the by. I didn't mean to move away from what we're actually doing, but the flutes are great with their vibratos. Awesome sound. What a lovely sound. And again, the piccolo. What I love particularly about the piccolo, and again, I'm just sitting with the legatos. There's all sorts of different articulations that you can use. I tend to use legatos, and I tend to compose with single lines, and I just make lots of lines, if that makes sense. If I want a polyphonic part, I'll just double up the tracks. It's just how I work. Might not be the best way, but the piccolos, what I love is the little in-between notes, the way it jumps from one note to another. Love it. So that's BBC Symphony Orchestra. I'm going to play a piece of music at the end of this video, which kind of brings all this together, and it's saturated in BBC Symphony Orchestra. I love it, and it's my go-to. Next one I want to talk about is Symphony Orchestra Professional, and I think there's a core version of it. I've got the professional version just because I like all of those mic positions. Now, I don't use the strings from symphonic orchestra, and I just think that there are better strings in other libraries, and certainly BBC Symphony Orchestra I think has got nicer strings. It's also got Hans Zimmer strings in there, which is in my core arsenal, which I'm going to come on to as well. But what I love about symphonic orchestra is the woodwinds, and if you'd only got the pennies for one part of symphony orchestra, I'd get the woodwinds because they are just insanely good. So here's the 2 flutes for from symphonic orchestra. I don't like Contact. I'm just putting it out there. A lot of Spitfire stuff is using Contact. I just don't like the engine, and I'm quite lazy, and I don't like having to open up Contact and open up an instrument within Contact. I much prefer the Spitfire bespoke engine like we're using here for symphony orchestra and originals felt piano, and Hans Zimmer strings uses this engine as well. I'm a big fanboy on this. I love it, and I hope that Spitfire use this forever and move away from Contact. But anyway, here's two flutes. You get a load of mic positions. You get a load of articulations with symphony orchestra professional. So here's symphonic woodwinds playing the flutes. No, they're not, because I haven't actually picked that track. Here we go. Gorgeous. Love them. My favourite instrument in symphonic orchestra, and I am yet to beat this in any other product. They can't even get close to the sound of the solo bassoon that comes in symphony orchestra. Listen to this. It melts my brain cells when I hear that. I could listen to that all day. It's fantastic. I'm gonna just jump past some of these now. I suffice it to say, symphonic orchestra are incredible. I'll just play the clarinet, solo clarinet, because again, I'm yet to find another library that can beat this sound. It's gorgeous. I find myself having to use the cog a little bit. So Spitfire libraries, the Contact libraries, they have a cog that you can click, and you can go behind the scenes and you can retune instruments. And there's a couple that you have to do a bit of tuning yourself. Like you can hear it in this middle G here. It's a little bit flat. It's just not quite there. I guess you have to have quite a keen ear to hear that. There's a little bit of tuning that you need to do on those. You have to work a little bit harder with some of the symphonic orchestra packs. I'm going to skip the bass trombones. I'm going to move to the horns, because when I said BBC Symphony Orchestra horns are juicy and lovely and cuddly and warm and they wrap you up, and it's a lovely sound. Sometimes you just want a little bit more push, and if I'm honest, I use East West Hollywood brass. I think is the one I use for a lot of my brass sounds. But I think Spitfire symphonic brass is up there because it's just got a bit more rasp and push to it. So if I want to go a bit more energetic with my brass on my horns, I'll go with this. There's also 2 more horns in symphonic brass as opposed to the 4 that you get in symphony orchestra, BBC Symphony Orchestra. Anyway, I'll shut up. Isn't that lovely? you've just got a bit more brassiness, which is kind of what you want from a brass library. I don't know. And what I find as well with the symphonic orchestra, as opposed to BBC Symphony Orchestra, where they've just programmed it so incredibly well that it just knows what you want to do before you do it. With the symphonic library, it is a much older library. You find you are moving through the articulations a little bit. So if you want those shorts, you're not going to get them from the legato. See, I can't get the shorts, so you have to move through the articulation tree. Love it. So that symphony orchestra, again, it's just the core. I've not delved in deep into it to show you all of the other good stuff. I want to move on to the next one in the list, which is Albion. Now, Albion was actually the first library suite that I bought from Spitfire Audio, and it's what turned me into the fanboy I am today. Think of Albion as everything you would need to get you started making cinematic music. When you're still kind of fumbling around trying to work out, well, what does this sound like, and what does that instrument sound like, it's all been done for you. They pull everything together. They put the basses in together, the strings, the cello, the violas, and sometimes the woodwinds, and they mix it all for you and go, here you go. Here's how it sounds amazing. Press a button and it's done. So I've got the suite. There's Albion 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I use Albion 1 for my big sort of dreamy octave high strings. Let me just pull that up, which is here. Again, you look, it's quite a simple interface. These are legatos again, and I've got 4 different articulations. The first one is the high octaves? Full octaves, and it sounds like this. I'm not going to play that because it'd probably get copywritten and my video will get taken down or whatever, but those lovely, lush, high octaves. And there's a few articulations that I use from this. So here's our lows. I think that's from League of Gentlemen. I'm not quite sure where that one came at my head from. We've got just mids without any octaves, I don't think. I think this is just mid legatos. But you can hear there's violas in there and violins, and I think there's possibly some cello in there too. It's just gone, we'll do it all for you. Here it is. It's brilliant. And then we've got high octaves. So you got some, I think there's some harmonics in there. Isn't that gorgeous? And it's real. I mean, this is the thing I didn't realize how real things could sound. It's just real. Another thing that I like to use from Albion 1 is the low brass, because it's got so much rasp and punch. So I think there's trombones and there's tubas in there and all sorts of stuff, and you get this. Ooh, dirty. Let's go to the shorts. I tend to use the shorts a lot more for this library, if you want that kind of close encounters. Got some lovely sort of raspy, metallic, overblown sounds in there. Love it, love it, love it. Now here's my favourite pack from the Albion suite. It's down here. Where is it? Albion 5. So this is for that kind of, I think of it sort of like Scandinavian or sort of Icelandic, almost folky sounding strings. They're really kind of on the edge of melodic, and there's a lot more texture in there. And I use this all the time. And the track that I'm going to play you at the end of this video uses Tundra an awful lot. But what I really love is this no rosin. So no rosin is the wax, I think, that they put on the bow. Might be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's it. And so this is when they don't put that on, and you get a much sort of raspier, kind of strangled sound, and it's like this. Not nice. Love it. The only thing I don't like, and again, I think some of the Spitfire's packs are a bit guilty of this, is they're all about human influence. And you know, if a human has made a mistake while they were playing a particular part or a particular piece that they then sample, they keep it in. And it can be fab, because you hear people breathing, and you hear them clicking their bow, or moving their fingers, and it makes it sound real. Now and again, and you'll hear it here, there's mistakes that shouldn't be in there. I'm going to play a C and see if you can hear where the error is. What? It's an F sharp. It's got an F sharp in it, which is not something you really want when you're playing C. And you let it off because it's so cool, and I like having that realism and mistakes. But some of them, like that, sticking an F sharp in every 6 seconds when the sample loops, can be a bit of a game breaker sometimes, and you have to but you can work around it. You shorten the note, or you release it and you do it again and you mix it, but you have to do a bit more homework to get it right. So anyway, love that. And the last one I'm going to show you on Albion is the Hyde woodwinds. And I apart from the fact that some of them have got some particularly suggestive sounding names, like doodle tonguing, make of that what you will, they sound incredible. So this is doodle tonguing high woods, and I think there's flutes, piccolos, oboes, clarinets, everything in here. What I love is the effects that you get. So I think there's overblowing. I love this, and I haven't used it yet, but I want to, because it's so cool. Hear those harmonics? Just one note. It's an acquired taste, I'll grant you. I absolutely love it, and I've got to find a reason for having it in one of my tracks. I haven't found it yet, but I will make a track using those overblowns. And there's all sorts of different kinds of overblown. Here's another one. Fab! It's so cool. If you wanted that really kind of, atonal crescendo in your music, what better way to do it than someone blowing the crap out of their flute? It's ace. Love that. So that's again not exhaustive. I haven't even touched Albion Neo, which is this one here. These libraries are huge. I'm just in the mixes here. Let me come back out. You've got strings A, B, woodwinds, brass, but then you've also got your advanced. You've got articulations. You've got legatos. You've got some kind of bizarre effects and things in the strings. It's such a great library, and I don't know why I haven't included it. I should have done, but that's for another video. The whole Albion suite is quite a lot of money. I think I paid £1,500 for it. It's not cheap, but it's worth it if you just want that one-stop shop for big, epic, cinematic, Hans Zimmer-esque orchestral film music. Speaking of Hans Zimmer strings, I'm going to move on to that one next. Now, I was really excited about getting this, and it hasn't disappointed, but very big window. Let's down a little bit. It's really great, but for the wrong reasons. And I think I'm not the only person who thinks this. When you think of Hans Zimmer, you think of Batman and Inception and these incredibly enormous sounding orchestras where, and you know, this, when they recorded the Hans Zimmer strings, they had 344 people playing strings in one room. How incredible is that? But you don't really get to hear it. You don't get the really big, epic, powerful sound that I was expecting. What Hans Zimmer strings is really good at is playing the soft stuff. So you get, you know, I'm on here, long super flautando. So flautando is a really difficult, at the edge of hearing sound, and it's very quiet. When you've got, I think, 60 cellos playing it, you get this. Isn't that nice? I'll play you the legato, but this is where I think symphony orchestra or Spitfire chamber strings, which again I've not included here, I would probably use chamber strings for cellos, because the legatos I don't think are great. For starters, you don't get, and I haven't found them, you don't get any portamento or slur. It's just one note, one note, one note, one note. Oh, I heard a portamento then. Did I? I don't know. I don't think there is. What I love about Hans Zimmer strings, which is what I'm going to show you next, with the 20 cellos right. So they've kind of split it that you can have all of them in the middle or all of them everywhere with 60, but then you've also got a right-hand side and a left-hand side. You've got the same thing with the violins. I think you've got the same with the violas. Not true, actually. I think the violas, you've only got centre and wide. But the right-hand side or the left-hand side cellos, all in one, short, are fantastic. I use them a lot. Isn't that nice? Love it. I tend to use those a lot, and I use the left-hand side. And the violins are really good. The shorts are really good. If you want that kind of stabby, bang, bang in your face, and if you can't quite get the right sound from Albion, which again I would potentially use for those big stabby violins, then Hans Zimmer is really good for that. It's really good with the, I don't know why, it always opens up massive Hans Zimmer. I love the basses, 24 basses. that nice? And I think there's some shorts here, which are really good and big and stabby. And what I like as well with Hans Zimmer is I haven't put a reverb on this. This is what that room sounds like. And if you want to really fine tune it, I won't show you on this. I'll show you on the violas. You've got so much control over the microphones in Hans Zimmer strings. So at the moment I'm on long violas wide, and it sounds like this. Gorgeous, floaty, almost almost unreal. Is that the right word? It's ever so slightly synthesized, the sound, but that's a good thing. I think that's a great thing. You want Hans Zimmer strings to be that almost synthetic sound, a little bit more electric. But yes, you get all sorts of microphones. So at the moment, I've got everything turned off except for the Decca-tree, which I think is the one that sits in front of the conductor, fanning out, listening to the orchestra. You've also got ambient outriggers, and you've got all of these microphone placements, spot mics, the gallery mic. So that's, I think the cellists are down in the pit, and then the microphones are up in the gallery. So let's, for instance, just turn the gallery on, and I'm going to turn off my tree mic. Let that play. Oh, it's still loading. And it sounds like this. Hear the tail on that. Isn't that gorgeous? Sorry, getting a little bit carried away there. That's the beauty of Hans Zimmer strings. The microphone control that you've got changes everything. It changes the texture, the tone, the power, the impact, everything, and you get some incredible sounds. Experiment with it is what I would suggest. Don't just listen to it out of the box and go, oh, that's not quite what I wanted. Experiment with it, get behind the surface and play with the microphone positions, and you'll get some really, really cool sounding stuff. I'm nearly done. I want to show you very quickly some solos. So if I'm using solo instruments, I'll start with this one here, which you can't see, which is good because I want it to be a surprise. So if I'm playing a solo violin part, then I use Spitfire solo strings. Violin virtuoso, total performance legato, I think it's called. Forgive me, I'm not the best pianist. I'll try and do it justice. But here's a solo violin. I didn't do it justice, but it's gorgeous. And what I love about this is another one a bit like BBC Symphony Orchestra. It's very, very clever. It's really intelligent, and it knows what you're trying to do, and then just does it better than you. So, for instance, if I'm playing a trill, it intelligently knows, oh, you're doing a minor trill. I've got a sound for that. I've got a sample for that. I'll play it. And so it plays somebody playing that trill. which is much better than I'd be able to do it. Isn't that great? And the same with major trills. And there's lots of control. So if I use the vibrato, which I think is 24, 22, I can't remember, 21, CC 21, the vibrato does quite a few things. So if I'm almost at the bottom on my vibrato here, you can just see me move there. This is no vibrato at all. And as I push it up, and then we get into vibrato, and we can really push it. Like we're on the Titanic. And right at the bottom of vibrato, your tremolos. That's Four Seasons. I'm not going to play that. It's great. Anyway, solo strings, violin, virtuoso is fantastic. And then you can buy, I think, the solo strings, individual instruments. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think you could, if you just wanted the violin, you can just go and buy the violin. I probably would have done that after using the rest, because I don't think the rest are as good. I'm going to play very quickly, show you the solo strings cello total performance, and I don't think it's quite as good. It sounds a little bit artificial. And I think the artificialness, in my opinion, comes from the what's going on between the notes. So not the notes themselves, but the legato between them. I just don't think is quite polished enough. It's gorgeous, though, don't get me wrong. But I think there's a better one, and this is where my wild card comes in. I'm sorry, Spitfire. I hate to do it, but if I really want a good cello, use Tina Guo. It's quite a small library. You don't get anything else in it. You just get the cello, but it makes you dribble. Listen to this. Oh. I mean, I might be wrong. I think that's insane. If I had a nitpick, and it's a really small nitpick, it sounds a little bit amplified. It sounds like it's going through, a cello amp. If such one thing exists, I'm sure it doesn't. But you hear it. It's a little bit electric, but I don't care. It's so good. Isn't that great? So, that isn't everything. There's lots more, but it would bore you senseless, so I'm not going to do it. And I've been talking for 45 minutes. That's quite a long video. I'm just going to round it up there and say I love Spitfire audio, apart from Tina Guo, who makes an appearance. And it's great by Cine Samples. It's really good. Everything else, pretty much, I use is Spitfire audio. And that's kind of the end of that. Yeah, I think that's probably done. So I thought to just round up the video, it'd probably be best to play you something that actually uses all of these libraries. And so I'm going to play you a track from a project I've been working on. It's called Lost Cello. And it's got a bit of everything that I've spoken about. It's got so there's lots of Albion Tundra in there for the big Superflower Tando airy stuff that Albion does best. There's an awful lot of BBC Symphony Orchestra. I use it all the time. I still think it's got the best legatos for violins and cellos. They're just emotional and lovely. I'm using Albion 1 for some of the romantic high octave strings. And then there's a bit of a cheat in there. So the lead cello, I've gone with as I said, Tina Guo. I don't want to besmirch Spitfire solo strings because they're also incredible. And if I was doing violins as the lead instrument, I'd probably use solo strings. Anyway, I'm going to shut up, have a listen, and yeah, I hope you like it. That was Lost Cellos. I hope you liked it, and that's going to kind of round up the video today. If there's been anything even slightly interesting that you've learnt anything, then please do hit the like and the subscribe button. I'm going to do a lot more of these. Next one, I'm actually going to do a bit of a live stream making a track from scratch, and we'll just see where we get to with it. In the meantime, thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.